All right, so here we have the rectangle or a cuboid, which is a 6-sided 3-dimensional form. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide this into 64 cuboids. And in order to do that, grab my transparent ruler. And a little trick of the trade is if you put a pencil, and before I go any further, I use this red here, or this orange red color. And right now I'm using this kind of a darker red here, but I'm going to use it lightly just to differentiate the colors just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross my corners and that's going to find my center. But what I can do is I can put my, that's annoying. That's going to be annoying. The tip of my point right on the corner of the cuboid, right where those two lines intersect, and then I can run my ruler right to it and it just stops. It just makes things easier for me. And then I can just angle it over to the left point and I can lightly put a cross line in. You can hardly see what I did probably in the video. And I'm gonna do the same thing here, but my ruler doesn't reach it, so I have to get a longer ruler. In this case, I have an 18-inch ruler and I can go this way. So what I found is that those two little lines crossed right here. And what I do next, could do one of two things. You could use a T-square, which actually looks like it works perfectly. You could use a T-square as long as the bottom of this is perfectly straight and it lines up with the other lines that you have. I'm just gonna check all these right now. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna use my T-square and I'm going to run a line straight up and down, but I forgot to switch my pencil. I'm gonna switch it to there. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cross my corners. I'll put the T-square over there. I don't think I need that big boy anymore. Cross my corners from here to here, because now I divided my space, or this front plane I'm working on, I divided it in half, and now I'm gonna divide it in half again. That finds my center. And then you want to make a line straight up. But before I do that, because I'm going to use the T-square to make that line straight up, I'm going to divide this in half as well. So I cross my corners, and again, that finds the center. And I'm just going to mark off where that center is with a little dot. And then I'm going to switch my pencil. And I'm going to use my T-square. Only using the T-square for vertical lines. Everything else has to be used or applied using the slide technique. So there, I divided the space into 4 equal sections. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use my transparent triangles. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to go about sliding and getting all of my lines in. So I just found out this works just well. And whenever I do this, I like to stand over without putting my head in the view of the camera frame. But I like to stand over and just make sure I'm right on that line. I'm parallel to it, and just don't guess and make sure that you're right on it. Otherwise, your lines will not be parallel. So don't go to all this time and effort for something that's not even gonna, or that you're gonna have to do again. So what I do is I run it over to that point where that intersects and I run a line across. Whenever I do this, I just leave myself a little bit of space because the thickness of the tip of the pencil, which I should sharpen right now, is a little off from the side of the ruler. So I counteract that by just kind of moving the ruler, not going as far to the intersection point, so I'm right on the line when I draw my line through. So that's divided in quarters, and I didn't have to cross my corners or anything of that nature. Now, I'm going to go back to the front of this cuboid, Oops, forgot to switch my pencil. And I didn't want to put that in, I just wanted to keep it nice and light because I just don't feel like, actually I think I like this one better. By the way, if you're wondering what I have, this is a duster, a Draftsman duster, and it just kind of cleans the surface without smearing. Sometimes I like to use this because it's a little bit easier, and it takes all the little residue from the eraser away. Keeps a nice working environment. So there's my little guy. This is going to be a vertical line, so I get to use my T-square. And basically, I don't know if you can see this, but my T-square is just locked right on to the edge of my foam board. And I'm not even sure I talked about the foam board, but the foam board is 2 sheets connected, and they're 3/16 of an inch each, so it's almost about the thickness of the whatchamacallit, T-square here. So the T-square fits nicely on, and you can hear it snap right over the top, and then I can just slide it right along the top. It's pretty nice. So what I'm going to do is just, now that's out of view, I'm going to draw in my vertical line, cross my corners, now that I divide it in half. And again, I'm using a light line because I don't want to go back in and erase this, and it's just going to kind of fade away as the lines get darker and using of different colors. This goes here. And then I'm going to put my 2 vertical lines in. Notice, because my pencil's dull, I'm going to sharpen it. And when I sharpen it, it's going to be sharper. But when it's sharper, I take that in consideration when I bring the ruler over. If it's dull, I kind of give myself a little bit of a space. I slide it over to the left of the point, but since it's sharp, I put it much closer to the point because I can kind of get in there and put that line in because of the point is finer. All right, so the next thing I do is I want to put these lines going across in this direction. So I have to do the slide technique in this case. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can slide this through. Yeah, that kind of works out. And again, you have to kind of visualize how this is going to work. In some cases, you might put it up to something and it just doesn't slide the direction you want it to go. So you have to readjust these, and this does. And again, I'm going to stand up straight because I do not want to do this again. And I'm going to make sure it is perfectly in line. I put my weight on the right triangle, and then I butt this up to that edge, and then I switch my weight, and now this one is free to run, free to slide. And I'm going to be very careful. As you can see, I'm using my finger here to hold it in place. There we are. So that's done. Now, as you can see that where these lines cross, right? This is the center point. So I can divide this in half this way. What I'm going to do, again, I'm going to slide, and it's good to kind of clear this stuff away. And when I talked about my foam board originally, I didn't kind of get too far into detail, but I'm just going to show you. This is the thickness of the foam board. It's just 2 sheets of foam board that are connected together. And it lifts itself up off my drawing surface, and it's a lightweight. It's a really great drawing board. Cheap. And so I love everything about it. And because it lifts everything off the board, these rulers, these triangle transparent rulers, don't get in the way. All right, so I'm right on the line here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide up to the center point where I have my center going in this direction. And basically, same thing over here. So this goes right there. Put my weight down. Sometimes it slides on you, you gotta reset it again, which just happened to me. Put this here. Oops, did it again, son of a gun. Okay. All right, and that went through there. Great. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna divide this section up here, so I can go this way, and divide this section up here, and I can go this way and this way. Whenever you divide a rectangle in find the center point, you can divide the rest of the form, oops, damn it, in half. So I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. That found my center, right? I kind of went a little dark there. Just going to lighten up this line. And since it found my center, I can't use my T-square anymore because this is a diagonal line. I have to use a slide technique. And I kind of wish I did this one as well because I had everything set up, but I didn't. So I'm just going to cross my corner here. This one seems to be crossed already. There's my center right there. Great. I forgot to switch my pencils. So I'm going to go down from here, work my way up. I'm going to reapply this one. And now I have these ready because the lines are already there. So all I gotta do is extend them in this direction and I'm good to go. All right, so basically this is the completed version, but what I want you to understand is how this it can be read as a transparent form, and it will be helpful in the end, but right now I'm going to lightly, I guess what I'm trying to say, I paused myself. What I'm trying to say is that when you, part of the assignment is you're going to start to subtract rectangles and design something, but you need to know how everything works transparently. So it's good to do this now so you have the comprehension of that. But some of those lines you might erase and they might just confuse you that much more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this larger form transparent, and there we go. So I'm going to draw the back of this box, the back corner that you can't see, and make it visible. And it's right here. And I'm using this lighter red, as you see right here, as my line. Can that run over there? No. I have to pull this guy down there. That's what I'll do. I don't know if you can see this, but this line and this line meet right here. In theory, knock on wood, it should line up right with the back corner right here. And it's pretty close, slightly off, but that's not a bad thing. Not that bad. So you can kind of see, I'm gonna make this line just a little darker. So you can kind of see the back plane. What I'm going to do is, it's going to get really confusing now. What I'm going to do is draw these lines straight down until they hit this, bring it back over. And it's basically, this line's going to wrap around the whole form. Because these are vertical lines, I can use my T-square. And again, I'm still using this light red. And if I have to use another color later on to differentiate so I don't drive myself insane, I will do that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it a monochrome palette. Okay, so I put my vertical lines in. And the next thing I'm going to do is run these across on the bottom. And sometimes the lines will overlap with other lines, and that's where it gets really challenging to understand when you're going back into this and you're like, well, I've lost my lines, I'm confused, I don't know where I am, I don't know what to do. But that's why we're using these colored pencils, because eventually you're going to change that. Cross, oops. So I'm running this line across to that back line right here, and then it should, in theory, meet up with this line there. This one's a little off, this one's a little off. If they're a little off, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. It's human error. And the last thing I want to do is run the lines behind the form across the other side. So you can see this, I'm going to run this line across here until it hits that back corner. And once it hits that back corner, it's going to come back around here. But I'm just going to finish these lines because I have my slider set. And I'm just hitting that back line. Okay. Next thing I do now is I just take this back corner right here and I set it. I set my slider. And now I'm going to go up to that corner right here. And it should line up with those lines that I just put in. I'm not looking at it. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm sure it's darn close. There we go. So this looks very confusing. I'm aware of that. But what you could do next is maybe take your purple pencil and redraw on top of the orange color, and that way it will pop out, and then you'll still have the transparency of the other color, and you'll be able to see what's going on because it's very light. We'll do that in the next video.